Hey guys, welcome. I'm Irene. Welcome to this webinar on mindfulness as a tool for more resilience and self-acceptance. This is my colleague Mirte. You may have known us from previous webinars we present for Open Up. Normally, Jesper would be here welcoming you. Unfortunately, he's in quarantine, COVID. That's why I'm here. Completely mindful, of course, of this change, as you can imagine, via YouTube on the right side of the screen, next to the YouTube video. So, in this webinar, Mirte and I hope to float away with you, be completely zen, mindful, have no stress, no thoughts, never ever stress, maybe no anxiety anymore, no feeling down. Sounds good? Well, unfortunately, that's not what mindfulness is. Let's get real. Mindfulness is about being with whatever is. So we're going to talk you through what it is, how it plays a role in cultivating more self-compassion as a way to get more self-acceptance. We will bring you some light on the misconceptions that arise with mindfulness and self-compassion so you can get rid of them and start practicing. We want to teach you in this webinar how to let go more, how to be more acceptant of situations and yourself, how to deal better with present times here with COVID, etc., and accept more about yourself and your imperfections by being more self-compassionate. Here you see what we're going to talk about. The background, what it is, when it is helpful, and what mindfulness entails, and we will do the same thing about self-compassion. Because both mindfulness and self-compassion are skills, it takes time and practice to make it your own. We will already make it practical today, of course, but we'll also share some exercises in the upcoming months. Know that you can also contact one of our psychologists here at Open Up for one-on-one mindfulness consults. They help you through the mindfulness exercises. You can see this as sort of a personal training for your mind. So, if you like this webinar or mindfulness, feel free to book a consultation. Let's get cracking with Mirte, who's going to talk you through mindfulness and what it is. Mirte, take it away.
Thank you very much, Irene, and welcome everybody. For the coming 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about to you about mindfulness. And if you, when you, after this 20 minutes, are more connected to your breathing, when you remember one name, Jon Kabat-Zinn, and when you remember two components of mindfulness, then my mission is accomplished. I hope you enjoyed the journey, which is a combination of theory and practice. What is mindfulness not? It's not about becoming a monk. It's not about being completely empty or always happy or always in a neutral state. All too often, we get carried away by thoughts and feelings related to the past and the future. And that's why and how we lose the intensity of the present moment, because we are somewhere else. We do many things on automatic pilot. And we have many behavioral patterns and stories in our mind without really being aware of what they're doing and what we are doing. Do you recognize that? For example, being in a meeting and already thinking, what am I gonna eat tonight? Or being at the playground with your children with your mind all wrapped up in some tax form to fill in. I recognize it. Maybe you do too. In the Eastern spiritual traditions, the practice of mindfulness in the form of meditation already exists for more than 2,500 years. That's quite a while already. The English translation of the Satipatthana is mindfulness. And the Satipatthana is the subject of the Satipatthana Sutta, one of the oldest Buddhist texts. And in these texts, mindfulness meditation is described as a method to diminish personal suffering and to develop qualities as insight, wisdom, and compassion. Irene is going to talk about this self-compassion later in this webinar. The word mindfulness is coined by the scholar Rhys Davids at the dawning of the 20th century. What I really find interesting to tell you is that in all Asian languages, the word for heart and the word for mind is the same word. And that's why scientists now are arguing if we shouldn't call mindfulness heart mindfulness. That would have been better, they think. And I agree with that because it has to do with the connection. Let's arrive in the here and now. And let me guide you through the process. So please close your eyes and take a comfortable sitting position. Maybe you have to adjust your posture a bit. Feel your spine, feel your shoulders, your jaw, and try to lose tension when you detect any. And now focus on the breath, the movement of the breath. So while you're sitting here in this comfortable position, you focus on what the breath does, on the movement of the breath. Very well. Just continue. Thank you for now. You can open your eyes again. And probably during this exercise you noticed that your mind was wandering. If you recognize that, please know that it's absolutely normal. There's nothing wrong with you. It's normal and it's common. But is it desirable that our mind is wandering all the time? No. And that's what mindfulness is teaching us, that we can feel more connected with ourselves and our lives when we train ourselves to stay with our attention here, in this moment. Jon Kabat-Zinn is the founder of mindfulness. That the term mindfulness was already dawning, was already invented at the beginning of the 20th century, but through Jon Kabat-Zinn the name became world famous, and because of Jon Kabat-Zinn we talk about mindfulness today. He is a professor of medicine at University of Massachusetts, and he went to MIT in the 70s where he earned his PhD for molecular biology. And in this time, in his PhD times at MIT, there were some Buddhist monks coming to MIT to share meditation with the students over there. And that is where Jon Kabat-Zinn got inspired by meditation. And in 1979, he already was a doctor at a general hospital. He noticed that there were chronically ill patients in his hospital who were not responding well to the traditional treatments. And he designed an 8-week program, which is called mindfulness-based stress reduction program, in which he learned his patients the Buddhistic principle that pain is inevitable, but that we can have some influence on our intensity of our suffering. You see it here in the circle. The inner circle is the pain itself, clear pain. It's just life is offering us pain. But everything we do to avoid it, to get away from it, to repress it, makes the pain bigger. Let us suffer. And he was teaching those chronically ill patients in this mindfulness program with all the mindfulness meditations to relate differently to their pain, to ease with the fact that there is pain. And they absolutely responded well on this treatment. And since then, mindfulness is booming. And still there are many of these courses, but we don't have to follow an 8-week program, mindfulness, to benefit from mindfulness. You can also do every day a little bit, or once in a while a little bit. So it's not that we tell you that you need to follow the 8-week program. The research since then, since Jon Kabat-Zinn invented this 8-week program, is booming. A search for the word mindfulness in Google Scholar gives us 355,000 results. And there is in science some consensus about the effectiveness of mindfulness for specific conditions such as depression, stress, and anxiety, pain, physical pain. Our overall health and well-being is benefiting from it. And we perform better when we train ourselves in mindfulness. So, research suggests that mindfulness has the potential to help people who seek a variety of goals, including regulation of stress and help dealing with physical pain and symptoms of chronic disease, as well as improving the well-being of life. And now there is this $1 million question. Is it helpful for me? Well, if you would ask me, my answer would be yes. I followed the 8-week program 10 years ago when I was going through a breakup, difficult time, and since then I really have been benefiting from it, and well, I'm using it in calmer and in rougher times. But let's go back to you. There was almost a 50% chance that your mind was wandering when I asked the question. People spend 46.9% of their waking hours with their minds somewhere else than their activity is. And what we know is that this mind wandering makes us unhappy. In 2010, the psychologists Killingworth and Gilbert from Harvard, they conducted a study with more than 2,255 subjects. And they were checking them at random times through an iPhone to a phone app, what they were doing, where their mind was, and if they were feeling happy. Well, the results were quite stunning. So in almost 47% of the time, our minds are not with our activity, so we're not engaged in what we're doing. And moreover, that's the cause of us feeling not happy. So this mind-wandering quality has a direct effect on our feeling of happiness. And there was one other interesting thing I thought nice to tell you. So our mind can wander through positive things, neutral things, and negative things. And even if you are in a negative situation and your mind is wandering off to something positive, you feel less happy, less good, than when you would have been with your mind at the negative situation. So even when you're in a bad mood and you let your mind wander to happy things, you're no better off than if you just stayed in the present moment. Instead of being with your mind in the past or in the future, it's beneficial to be in the present. Here's this beautiful saying from Oliver Wendell Holmes: what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. So again, is it helpful for me? If you feel, I'm a bit stressed or anxious, or I'm moving towards the depressed state, or I'm in pain, or when you want to improve your overall health and well-being, or you want to perform better, then the answer is yes, you really will benefit from mindfulness. So what do we know now? We know that mindfulness in that 8-week program is practiced since 1979 and since then in many other forms in the Western countries. And we know that its origin stems from 2,500 years ago. We know science has proven the effectiveness of it. That's very clear. And we know that it has something to do with the wandering of our mind, that the wandering of our mind taking off to other places, isn't making us happy, and it lets us perform less. In maybe you know the 7 virtues and the 7 sins. Well, mindfulness also have the 7 attitudes, and that's about non-judging, patience, the beginner's mind, trust, non-striving, acceptance, and letting go. And I want to tell you a bit more about the non-striving and about the letting go. Non-striving in meditation can be a real obstacle. And that is because meditation is different from all other human activities. Almost everything we do with some striving. I want to become better in tennis, better in my job, I want to be faster, I want to be thinner, happier, whatever. We have many goals for ourselves. And meditation is not about trying to reach a goal. For example, if you sit down to meditate and you think, I'm going to be relaxed, or I'm going to be enlightened now, or I'm going to control my pain, or now I will get rid of that annoyance I feel, or now the pain in my heart should stop, then what happens is that you get frustrated because you are not there yet, and then the goal you have and the position you're actually in, that discrepancy between those two, offer you some frustration. So in the meditative domain, the best way to achieve your own goals is to back off from striving for results, and instead to start focusing carefully on seeing and accepting things as they are, moment by moment. And through that practice, more patience and more happiness or calmness will unfold. But you can't force it. And one of the other attitudes is letting go. And there is a really nice story in the countries where many monkeys are, and unfortunately also hunters. These hunters have a trick. They take a coconut nut and they make a hole in it, and that hole is big enough for the little monkey to put his hand through. And they make 2 little holes in the coconut as well, and they put a wire through it and they hang it in the tree. And in this coconut they place a banana. And when the monkey comes there and smells or sees that there's a banana in the coconut, what you see is that they try to get it, of course. They put their hand in the coconut, they grab the banana, but because they have the banana in their hand, they have to pull it back, they have to make a fist, and the hole the hunter made was big enough for the flat hand to go through, but not for the fist. So the monkey gets stuck when he is holding to the banana. And what you see is that the monkeys get stuck and they won't let go of the banana. And so they get caught. And that metaphor in mindfulness is used to see what we, with all our intelligence, do with problems. We get stuck with them and we don't let go. And in mindfulness, you train yourself to let the banana go and release yourself. To go short, because all these 7 attitudes are connected. From one comes the other, you could say. To go short, mindfulness is about 2 components. 1, self-regulation of attention. So every time your mind wanders, you get yourself back in the present. And often the breath is used as an anchor, so you get your attention back to the breathing. Time in, time out, you repeat that process. Oh, there goes my mind, and you get it back to your breathing. And the second component is the orientation. It's the attitude you have towards what's happening, and that is about non-judging, curiosity, openness, and acceptance. So I am sitting here and I feel nervous and I'm a bit worried, and that's fine. These 2 components you can remember. Self-regulation of attention, getting your attention in the here and now, moment by moment, and do it in a gentle, non-judging manner. The mystic, the Sufi poet Jalaluddin Rumi wrote this beautiful poem, and I would like to read it out aloud for you. And it's about us, we the guest house. This human being is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thoughts, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. I'm going to close my part of the presentation, and I was talking with you about to become more mindful and not mindful. And just check, are you awake? Ask yourself, am I awake? And ask yourself, where is my mind right now? And whatever the answer may be, it's okay. And Irene now will take over and tell you about self-compassion.
Thanks, Mirte. So guys, let's move over to self-compassion. And I'm a huge fan. I hope I can make you guys a fan as well. Before we start our journey on this self-compassionate path, with all the information I have for you guys, I first want you to experience what self-compassion is. I will guide you through this exercise, so please close your eyes and listen to my voice. So, I'd like you to picture your best friend, or a sibling, or someone else you love. And he or she is coming to you with a problem, a mistake he or she made. The person feels really, really bad. And now please respond the way you normally would. What do you notice yourself saying? What is the tone of your voice? Do you trust the other person? Do you give him or her trust, your trust? Just be aware and mindful of your reaction. Now, keep your eyes closed. We're doing the same thing, but with a different question. This time it's you who made the mistake, who failed, who noticed something imperfect about yourself. What do you say to you? What is your tone of voice towards yourself? Are you maybe frowning? Where are the tensed shoulders? Be mindful of what is happening in yourself. Do you trust yourself or not? Do you maybe over-identify yourself with this problem? You can't do anything ever. Again, notice. You can open your eyes again. What did you notice? So, when I did this exercise the first time myself, I was shocked at how I talked to myself. It was harsh, with my face all clenched, my neck was tight, and I was being quite harsh on myself, telling myself off. And when I was talking to a friend, it was way warmer, calmer. It was okay. This is normal. It's human. I'm very curious how this is for you guys. So let us know in the chat what you noticed. Maybe it's different for you. What we see is that 80% of people is kinder towards someone else than they are towards themselves. That's quite a lot of people, right? So in self-compassion, they often say, Love yourself as your neighbor because you give your neighbor even more love than you give yourself. It's actually quite shocking. So this is an example of self-criticism, right? A lot of people criticize themselves. And self-compassion is on the other side. So what is self-compassion actually? Compassion means to suffer with. And a lot of people know that they have compassion for someone else, right? It's a non-judgmental, warm and understanding way. You think, oh, this sucks, I understand. You realize it's part of the human condition. Self-compassion is actually the same, but now it's focused on you. It's on the self. It's about noticing that you are suffering because you failed an exam, you made a mistake, you were late, you lashed out at someone, or you noticed something about yourself that you didn't like. Instead of ignoring the pain and trying to push it away and being hard on yourself, you give room and space to the emotion to be there. Now, maybe you're wondering, why are we talking about self-compassion when this is a mindfulness webinar? Well, that is because mindfulness is a beautiful thing to cultivate to flow through life. And it's also a condition to become aware of when you're being critical towards yourself and when you're suffering. With mindfulness, you ask yourself, what do I experience right now in this present moment? And then with self-compassion, you add, and what do I need right now? Since many people struggle with self-critique, and here at Open Up we see a lot of people asking us questions about it, we didn't want you to miss out on this beautiful construct. Now, self-compassion exists of three components. First, we have self-kindness versus self-judgment. In self-compassion, we are very kind. It's about, I can learn from our mistakes, from my mistakes. I can do something wrong. It's about asking yourself what you need and giving yourself that. Instead of saying, I failed, stupid. You did it wrong, you can't do it wrong. Do you hear the tone of voice is completely different? I can learn from my mistake, it's okay. You made a mistake. The second element of self-compassion is common humanity versus isolation. It's about seeing that our suffering, our pain, our mistakes, our imperfections are all part of the human condition. It's why we are human. We fail, part of life. With common humanity, you see that someone else would experience just as much pain or stress in the exact same situation. With isolation, you say, it's just me. I'm the only one who can't deal with this. So for this webinar, Mirte and I were saying, we're both a bit nervous. It's common humanity. It's normal. With isolation, I would say, oh, Irene, why are you so nervous? Act normal, please. Right? So it's a completely different way of being. The third element is mindfulness versus over-identification. With mindfulness, we say, I see what is happening in this present time. This is difficult for me. But with over-identification, we actually say, oh, I can't take it anymore. It's too much. This won't ever go away. On the other side, we can also see that people they don't do the drama on the, oh my God, this won't go away, but they do it more like, this can't be here, it should go. That's also over-identification. You think you have control over it. So we often want to run and fix things, but it's about validating that this moment you're experiencing right now is very hard. We don't want you to exaggerate it, but also don't want you to downplay your feelings. So often, like we also said in the last webinar, we're fused with what we think or what we feel, and that creates a lot of drama. It's about understanding that all the pain we feel will pass. It's just a moment. Because self-compassion is so strong, but it's also, we talk about it on a mental state, we also want you to know a little bit about the physiology, so about the body and self-compassion. And last webinar, Mirte explained to you about ANS, our autonomic nervous system. So for people who didn't join last webinar, Mirte explained to you that ANS, the autonomic nervous system, is our threat system. And ANS is there to keep us safe from physical or non-physical threats, and she will make you fight, flight, or freeze. She does that by sort of ringing the alarm to let you know that something is happening. You will start producing adrenaline, later cortisol. Your blood pressure will go up. You're ready to really fight. Now, ANS also gets activated not only by a car who's almost hitting you, or maybe your boss who looks very angry at you and you think, "Ooh, I did something wrong." No, ANS is also becoming active when there's an emotional attack. And we know from research that our inner critic, that little voice in your head that's telling you all the time that you're not doing it well, you can't make mistakes, is seen by ANS as an emotional attack. So when that's happening in your body, your stress system will become very active. Your cortisol level will rise, your blood pressure will go up, your heart rate will go up. And that's also why we see a lot of people who have a strong inner critic often suffer from stress illnesses like burnout or depression or anxiety. The inner critic can sort of show itself to you in 3 ways. If we fight, we hear that tone of voice in our head saying, "You're not doing anything right at that moment." When we freeze, we really think, "Oh no, what is going to happen? What if this happens? What if that happens?" And when we flee, we go into isolation on the couch thinking, "Can I please hide myself?" It's all based on the stress hormone cortisol. Now, the beautiful thing is that we have self-compassion. And we see that self-compassion, people who have a lot of self-compassion, they have a better mental health. They are more resilient and strong and have lower levels of cortisol. So this is what we really want. Now, ANS is okay that she's there and she should be there and she should stay there as well. But we also have our mammalian care system, sort of the caregiver system that we have in our body. And we know that self-compassionate people who can often tap into that mammalian care system, they feel better and it manifests in their bodies. So by self-compassion, we can soothe our own pain by tapping into that system. This is the same system that becomes active when you, for instance, hug your mother or your boyfriend or girlfriend or a child. It produces oxytocin, which is the cuddle hormone, and which sort of connects us to other people. So by giving ourselves self-compassion and tapping into that mammalian care system, we lower our levels of cortisol. We can soothe our pain. We can feel more connected to other people and therefore feel less stress. So by doing this and by focusing on self-compassion, we make our mental and emotional system be more relaxed and feel better as well. Now, I find this a very strong exercise, and I find it very important that people know how to tap into this mammalian care system, that I would like to do an exercise with you. And it's called soothing touch. And maybe it's a bit weird, so just know that you can do this at any time when you're by yourself, and I hope you will join me right now and just get a little crazy. Now, please close your eyes, and you can keep them open, of course, if you prefer that. And by closing your eyes, you can sort of feel like, hey, how am I doing? How is my neck? How is my breathing? Right? Just the mindfulness that Mirte just explained. And then I'd like to ask you to place a hand over your heart. Maybe 1, maybe 2. You can also hold your arm or your hand, just what you like. Feel the skin on skin sensation. Feel the warmth of your hand on your chest or on your arm. And maybe you can comfort yourself by stroking yourself and really telling yourself, it's okay, we're safe, you're fine. We know that this physical touch releases oxytocin, reduces cortisol, and calms your cardiovascular system. And we also know that your brain can be fooled. So we don't know if this is me who's giving this love to myself or in this way, hugging myself, or that it's someone else. By practicing this, and I've really noticed it myself, is noticing that your body feels calmer, that you can relax yourself. So I'm really curious what this does for you as well. Just know that by this exercise, you can give yourself the safety, the calmness, and the relaxed state that you need at any given moment. But again, it's about practice. Now, it's very nice that I gave you all this information about self-compassion, but what I might already hear you think is, okay, nice, but it can't be this good, right? There are a lot of misconceptions about self-compassion. The first one is that self-compassion leads to pity, that we feel sorry for ourselves. Well, actually, that's not true. We know that by being mindful of your experience and not over-dramatizing it, we see that it's a shared human condition, that it's normal, and that we don't have to feel this ashamed. We also know that we don't have to go in all the stories about, oh my God, this is so sad, right? So the drama, we don't want the drama. We want to be mindful and create boundaries for ourselves that we know this is just this moment and it will pass. Also, what we see is that a lot of people, for instance, eat bags of chips, or they won't go work out because they're very tired. And we see that people who are more self-compassionate will set a boundary for themselves and say, no, this is not good for you to eat this bag of crisps. Don't do it. Or, hey, work out. Another misconception is that by being self-compassionate, you become narcissistic or arrogant, self-indulgent. It will only go about me, right, if I focus so much on myself. But also here, research shows that people who are self-compassionate are actually less narcissistic and self-indulged because they see that everything they experience is part of a shared human condition and will create more connectedness. So with being narcissistic, we actually see that you place yourself above others, and with self-compassion, you're one of others. The last misconception is that it will make you less motivated. And I already explained a little bit about that with the pity, right? You're staying on the couch. But we also see that people who are self-compassionate are actually way more motivated. They're more disciplined, they keep on to their goals longer, they will strive better, and after failure, they will continue. And you probably understand that by saying to yourself, oh, lazy pig, get off the couch, start working out, you can't do anything. You're sort of, okay, maybe I will go, but then you don't really like it, right? You don't get a positive association with something. Whilst if you would say to yourself, hey girl, come on, you know this is good for you, you'll feel a lot better after you've done this. You might be thinking, okay, I'm running, right? So it will make you more motivated. Now, last, how to be more self-compassionate. Well, what I already said is start feeling it, right? Soothe your own pain, talk to yourself in a different way. But you can also use these steps. So when you're mindful, and you've practiced Mirte, what Mirte has told you about mindfulness, and you notice you're suffering, just name it. Oh, I feel anxious. We name it to tame it. Then be kind to yourself. This is really not feeling that well. It's hard, but it's part of life, right? And then we say we feel it to heal it. When we feel an emotion, when we can stay present, also what Mirte said, it will make it go away faster. Emotions only normally take 90 seconds, but it's also something that can move through you and disappear again. So feel it to heal it. And then ask yourself, what do I need right now? That's self-compassion. What can I give myself? Maybe patience, acceptance, maybe a call with a friend, laughter, fun. Also, can I give myself some soothing? Can I sort of stroke myself or Go from side to say, I'm okay, this is painful, but it's part of the human condition. And see what works for you. For some people, it's more the tender side of self-compassion. It's about speaking nice words towards yourself, drinking tea, taking a bath. And for other people, it's more about fierce self-compassion. Setting a boundary, no. Or canceling an appointment. Or telling a friend you disliked something they said to you. So see what works for you, but also know that tender and fierce self-compassion can be side to side and something we need, something we need in different situations. In the upcoming exercise this month, we will focus more on how to deal with the inner critic and be more self-compassionate, but this is already a start you can do on a daily basis. So here are some more tips on how to be more mindful and self-compassionate. Just read them through when you're by yourself and have the time and see what works for you. So now some more information and a heads up on this month's assignment. Today, the webinar. 4 days from now, you will get your first exercise, which is a mindfulness exercise led by Mirte. Then 6 days later, you will receive a second exercise, which is about cultivating more self-compassion. We hope you enjoy the exercises, and you can always ask for help from one of our Open Up psychologists. Now, want to learn more? Know that there's a lot of information. We just sort of highlighted a few. My Year of Living Mindfully from Shannon Harvey is a very nice documentary on the effects. Books by Kristen Neff or John Kabat-Zinn. The books of Brené Brown. Also, she has a lot of podcasts, TED Talks, Netflix series. So just look and see what suits you. So that was this for now, and we're going to head over to our Q&A and hope to see you there. Hey, okay, so guys, welcome. Normally, again, Jesper would be here asking us these questions, but we thought we are two independent women. We can also do this by ourselves. So here I have some questions you guys post during the webinar, and we'll see if we can help you a little bit further. So the first question I see here is, I intend to do a mindfulness exercise daily, and I often manage to do this 3 days in a row, after which I stop. Why is it so hard to continue doing this every day? Well, I think that's a very common problem one.
Question.
Yeah.
I think everybody asks the same question, so you can be self-compassionate about it.
Yeah.
It's part of the human condition. It's a why question, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so why is it so hard to continue? Well, I think what often happens with self-compassion and mindfulness, and at least what I also noticed, is that it's not part of your routine. So it's new, you haven't really done it yet, so you don't really know what to do or what to expect.
Maybe you don't benefit right away from it.
Exactly. So maybe the pros aren't weighing the cons, right? You have to make time. Maybe you feel at first a bit at ease, or not at ease, I mean, by doing something new. It's out of your comfort zone. So what really helped me is to add mindfulness and self-compassion to a ritual that I already did. So, for instance, I often try to brush my teeth, being mindful, or taking a shower, being mindful. And by doing that, I think it sort of came more in my life and became a sort of a new routine.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you don't have to do the actual exercise. Also in daily routines, you can add the mindful aspect.
Yeah.
And when you ask yourself the question, why is it so hard for me? Or maybe the tone of voice is a bit different and you are annoyed and tell yourself, why do I have difficulties with this? John Kabat-Zinn would say, and we, Irene and I would say too, and that is okay. It's okay that you have difficulties, and it's okay that you drop out, and every day you can start
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, I think that's also very important. Yeah, yeah,
That's the process.
yeah, yeah. And if you really have difficulty, that would be my last thing for this question. If you really have difficulty with motivating yourself, maybe make sort of a list with pros and cons and see if you really choose mindfulness, if this is now something for you at this point in time in your life. And it can also be that you say, no, the negatives don't outweigh the positives, and you choose to stop. Also possible. A second very nice question from Yolanda is, what is the best time to reflect the day or meditate?
You have morning meditations, you have midday meditations, you have evening meditations.
Yeah.
You have walking meditations, sitting meditations, lying meditations. So that depends on the traditional sitting meditation is really good to do just after waking up. Because what you do with the sitting meditation, you allow your body to be really present and awake, and your mind as well. So if you want to have a kickstart, I would say start with the sitting meditation already in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I think, and for me, actually, it's always during the day. So I think the word best is already sort of a judgment. When should I do it? It's striving, because then it would be best, maybe. And I think what is most important is that also for Yolanda, but also for other people, is to really see what works for you and when do you feel you need it. And when are you most able to concentrate? And for some people that is evening time, for some people that's morning time. But as Mirte said, it would be good to start your day being mindful of, hey, how am I actually feeling in this day? Because every day is different, right? So just maybe see what works for you, and also change on a daily basis, because it can change, right? Question 3. I see here a question. Approximately after how long of practicing mindfulness will you see progress?
I have no idea.
No, I think if we look at the 8-week program that John Kabat-Zinn shows, they see, I think, around 6 weeks, they see, or at least 8 weeks, they see that a lot of things have changed for the better. So when we look at the research, the people who've done the 8 weeks, they of course have been checked in the beginning and at the end. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they really see differences in their brain.
Yeah. And this 8-week program is every week 2.5 hours training, and every day 1.5 hour training for 8 weeks, and then 1 day silent retreatment afterwards.
So it's quite a lot. And then we see that really the brain structure already starts changing, and you can see the benefits. But if I look at myself and a lot of people I help here at Open Up, I actually see that after a couple of weeks already, you become way more aware. And that is after a couple of weeks doing it daily, you become more aware. You notice yourself drifting up earlier, so you can come back. So I think, let's say 3 weeks or something, you will already start noticing some benefits.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Good answer. Yeah.
Thank you. Leontine asks, I once heard someone say that it is important to invest the same amount of time in yourself as in the other. So 50-50. Do you agree on that?
That's a self-compassionate question.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking, do I agree on that 50-50? I think, I think if I look at myself, but also at the people I speak to, it differs. So we can't really say 50% of my time has to go to me and 50% of my time has to go to others. I think it's way more about what do I need right now, and sometimes you need your 100%. And maybe you need your 100% for a month or a year because you're not doing well or because of the circumstances. And maybe at other times you're doing quite well and you can give 80% to other people and only 20% to yourself. So I think it really differs from time to time. But I do agree that we need to invest at least 50% of our time on a daily basis towards ourselves to keep checking in and to know.
To connect.
Yeah, to connect. Because I think a
definitely.
lot of people we see here and we speak to have actually no idea how they are doing. And they are thinking, well, am I stressed? Am I anxious? I actually don't know. So I think at least take 30 to 50% of your day-to-day time on yourself. And sometimes if it differs, then that's fine. Yvonne asks, could you please share some tips for walking meditation? Any podcasts or certain people to follow on YouTube, for example? Ah, that's a good one. Well, I really, really like Headspace. Headspace is an app from Andy Pudikambi, and it's in English, so you have to prefer to listen to English podcasts. They also have walking meditations, and what Headspace, I think the pro of Headspace is that it explains a lot of techniques like noting or breathing exercises or compassion in an animated way. So it's very sort of happy to look at. So that would be my personal favorite. I also know you have Calm, the app Calm, or the app Insight Timer. And on Insight Timer, there are a lot of meditations. So I guess you can probably also find walking meditations there.
Yeah, and I can add Edel Max. It's a Belgian psychiatrist. He also have a beautiful mindfulness, beautiful books and meditations on mindfulness. And the John Kabat-Zinn, there he is again. His institute, a stress clinic from Massachusetts University, also have many things on meditation and beautiful exercises as well.
Well, I hope this helps you, Yvonne. Let me see. There are a few more questions. I think this is a good one because we often see this as well. There's no name, but this person asked that he or she often thinks that my mindfulness exercise has failed when my thoughts wander. In an exercise, it is then said that that is normal for this to happen and that you may return to the exercise with kind attention. However, I'm actually getting frustrated. What can I do about this?
You are learning, you don't have to do anything, but you are learning that it is the process that your mind wanders and that you return, and that your mind wanders and that you return. And by doing this over and over again, you create this observing institute inside yourself, which is noticing that it's happening. And that also is noticing that you are frustrated. And the kindness and the openness and the non-judging element is absolutely essential here. It is okay that I'm annoyed. It is okay that my mind is drifting. Yeah. And every time I notice it, I take myself back to my breathing. Yeah. And maybe that's why my answer on a couple of questions before was, I don't know. It's a bit a frustrating answer, I can imagine. But it really different from person to person when you start connecting to that institute inside yourself. So some people have it after a couple of times, and other, maybe like you need to continue for a couple of more weeks to connect with that notion of where you are when you are observing yourself.
Yeah. And what I'd like to add is also that getting frustrated is normal, as you say. And what I often also see is that we think that we need to have that kind attention means kind thoughts. Mm-hmm. But the kind attention actually means that you bring the attention back with, a thought. and that attention is kind. So you don't have to have kind thoughts. You can get frustrated, you can get angry. That's all normal. But the attention that you go back to the breath or some other object with, that one is kind. Yeah, so there's a difference between having kind thoughts when going back and having kind attention of the thoughts that you're having at that point in time.
And one last thing to add, it is not about not being frustrated, because when you are frustrated, that's how it is.
Yeah.
And that is okay. So you are allowed to feel frustrated.
Yeah. I hope this helps you. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Let me see. There are so many good ones. Yeah, maybe this is a good one as well. My body reacted quite intensely the last mindfulness exercise I performed. My breathing quickened and I noticed that I cramped up a bit. That raises questions like, what should I do with that? And what does that say about me? I do not dare to do the exercise again because now I'm afraid of getting the same reaction.
Yeah, so the meditation exercises is not about being calm. So you can, and if you check in with yourself on a daily basis, maybe sometimes you are really relaxed and sometimes you're extremely tense, and the third day it's moderate, and it differs from day to day. So when you register, it's like the weather. Today is really stormy weather. That's how it is, and it's okay. And what you add to this question is, it makes me anxious because now I'm hesitant to do another mindfulness exercise because I'm afraid that that will happen again because it was an unpleasant experience.
Yeah. Which I can understand, because what we often see with starting to be more mindful, you're becoming more aware. And by becoming more aware, you also notice that maybe you're more anxious or more stressed than you thought you were, because beforehand you weren't that mindful and you were scrolling your phone or drinking a beer.
Avoiding, yes.
Yeah, right. So we as humans often avoid. And when we avoid, we're not aware. And that's sometimes nice, but on the long term, then we get into an anxiety disorder or a depression because we hadn't been aware of our symptoms that our body was giving us beforehand. So that you already notice it is really, really good. And know that feelings come and go, so they will never stay. They're never permanent. And maybe it will help you to, when you start doing it again, if you want, to first do an exercise of 1 minute, then 2 minutes, then 2.5 minutes. So you sort of get used to the feeling of maybe feeling anxious a bit. And what can also happen is open your eyes. So with mindfulness, we often say sit down and close your eyes, but that can be quite intense because your full focus is on your body. So maybe start with opening your eyes before you go on.
And ask yourself, where exactly do I feel the anxiousness? Yeah. In which part of the body?
Hey guys, I see 2 beautiful more questions, but we're almost out of time. So I think we have one more and then we have to close off. For the person who didn't get an answer, just email us and we will come back to you. So the last one, Felix asks, is it possible to have no thoughts? Sometimes when I try to meditate, I feel like there's no thoughts running through my mind. I'm a starter, so it's not an effect of meditation.
Mm-hmm. Lucky you.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so it is possible. So we have 60,000 thoughts per day. But actually, you should know that it is possible that you sometimes have a gap between your thoughts, that there's just not something there. And I think enjoy the ride and know it's perfectly fine. And the thought of thinking, hey, I don't have a thought, is already a thought again. So then you're already thinking again. So just note it and return to your breath. We're going to end on this note, I think. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for this webinar on mindfulness and self-compassion for more self-acceptance and resilience. Mirte and I really enjoyed telling you about this. Know that if you have any further questions, know to email us or seek contact with one of our Open Up psychologists who offer normal consults but also mindfulness consults. We have a break this August because a lot of people are on holiday, but we will be back with a webinar on the Thursday in September, the 1st September, I think the 2nd September. So we really hope to see you then again and wish you all the best.
And enjoy the practices.
Yeah, practice. Bye.
Bye-bye.